Hi everyone, Happy New Year. It is actually January 1st today. It's also the first time I'm doing a YouTube video. Today I'm going to make a brisket for New Year's Day dinner. So that means, of course, that I have to get up early, put it in the oven, because these take a while to cook. But I'll be going through all that. First, I want to introduce myself. My name is Anita. I have a blog called ketogenicwoman.com. I will put the link down below so that you can check that out, because this recipe that I'm going to make today is actually on the blog. If you want to print it out, that's great, you can do that, but all the instructions will be here as well. I also have a Facebook group for women, kind of caters to women in my age group and older, but all women are welcome. It's a good place where you can hang out. We can talk about our female problems, no men there. We can just, do what we want. So that was kind of the intent of that group. Okay, so here's the brisket that I'm going to make for today's dinner. It's still in the package because I just wanted to show you. This one is about it's actually 1.84 kilograms because I'm in Canada. That's how we measure things. I did the conversion, and the conversion is 4 pounds somewhere along. Yeah, that converts to just roughly 4 pounds. So I also wanted to point out that it's Canadian Angus beef, which is a very high quality beef. I was very excited to see that it was 30% off. That's why I bought it, because it's quite expensive. But you get a lot of servings out of a piece of meat like this because there's no bones. This is so good when you cook it properly. It's melt in your mouth. Everybody loves it. That's going to be our dinner. So I'm going to get started by opening up the package and prepping it for the pan. I'm cooking it in a foil pan that I can just throw away after we're done tomorrow or whatever. It's just easier that way. This looks like it's going to fit perfectly. Okay, so I'm just going to cut it open over the sink so that I don't splash blood and guts everywhere on my counter. Out it comes. Okay, I don't wash the meat. Okay, so here's my board. I'm gonna blot it with paper towels. I'm gonna take it back over to my prep area now and show you what I do with it. Okay, so here is my brisket. I'm going to make this, I'm just going to turn it that way so you can kind of see. That's quite a fat cap on there. I'm going to score it so that the seasoning gets into the meat nicely. A lot of people cut the fat off, but if you leave it on and bake it for as many hours as I'm going to bake it, it all seeps down into the meat. All the connective tissues will just be gelatinous and pretty much melt in your mouth. And that's what we want. That's really the best way to cook a brisket. I am going to try to score this though, because it is fairly thick. I did sharpen this knife before I started. So just make some cuts. Not into the meat if you can avoid it, but just through that layer of fat on there. And then this way a bit. I shouldn't be pointing that at myself, but. All right, that looks pretty good. So what I want to also say about this particular cook that I'm doing today is, being that it's January 1st and we're running a challenge in my Facebook group, my challenge is following carnivore for the next 30 days. I've actually been following it since November with a few little skirmishes over the Christmas holidays, but generally since November. And so I'm going to continue that as my challenge. So this is going to be a very minimally cooked brisket with only salt and pepper. And you'll see how I do that. If you go to my blog, the recipe that is on my blog uses a sugar-free barbecue sauce and a sugar-free rub. The rub is one that I got from Serious Keto. I'm gonna link that down below because it's a rub that I make quite often and I use it for all kinds of things. I think you'll love it too. The barbecue sauce is G.H. Hughes. It's sweetened with stevia. This is it here. One of my local stores sells this and a hickory brand. You can get more on Amazon, so I'll put the link for that as well. But today I'm not using the rub or the barbecue sauce. I just wanted to mention them because if you go to print off my video, or sorry, my recipe on my blog and you see those things, that is my keto version. Today I'm making the carnivore version, which is only salt and pepper. Okay, so I'm ready to start rubbing my salt and pepper on. This is, like I said, is only going to be salt and pepper. I've measured out 1 tablespoon of kosher salt and 1 teaspoon of black pepper into this little bowl. For those of you who have not used kosher salt, it's really good stuff. I love using it on meat. You can buy it in a box like this from the grocery store. The only thing I don't like is this is how you're supposed to measure. And you try to pour that into a tablespoon. So I usually keep it in a little container, scoop out what I need, fill up the container again. There's my tip of the day. Pepper is just your regular black pepper. I got that from Costco. And that's it. That's all that's going on here. So I'm going to rub that in. Try to get it into all the little cracks and crevices. I might actually use more because I also like to do the other side. As far as I'm concerned, you can't put too much kosher salt and black pepper on this because it is a pretty substantial piece of meat. This might actually be okay. Okay, so there it is. As I mentioned, I like to use a foil pan for easy cleanup on this. So this is fitting just right in there, fat side up so that it sinks in. And I just want to talk a second about why we have to cook this so long and what I normally do. So the thing about brisket is you can't cook it rare. It's hard to get anything edible out of it on a short cook unless you're one of those really, barbecue masters. They all have their tricks. For most home cooking, this is the best way to do it. Put it in a pan and bake it for hours. So however much your brisket weighs, this one is 4 pounds. This is going to be baked at 250 degrees, very low oven, for 4 hours, 1 hour per pound. So if your brisket is 10 pounds, 10 hours. If your brisket is 12 hours. I did cook a 12-pound brisket at Thanksgiving, by the way. The 12 hours was a killer. But that way, all of the connective tissues are going to melt. You won't even need a knife. You'll just be able to eat this out of the pan with a fork if you wanted to. So this is gonna be awesome. You do have to cover it. I'm gonna cover it. I'm going to cover this with foil. Make sure it's sealed nicely. And it's going to go into a 250 degree oven. So just one more thing before I put it in the oven. Many people do sear their brisket first. You can sear the brisket ahead of time. If you have a big enough frying pan, it's pretty easy to do. Sear it for a couple minutes on both sides so you get a nice crust. I don't have a big enough frying pan for that big piece of meat to fit into. What I do is at the end of the 4 hours cooking time, I just put it under the broiler for a couple of minutes just to get that nice crust on the top. And that seems to work really well. So that's what I'll be doing today. So another thing that I like to do when I put one of these foil pans in the oven is I like to put it on another pan that's a little sturdier, just in case it gets too heavy or somehow I puncture a hole. I just don't want to end up with all of this meat juices at the bottom of the oven. So this one just happens to fit perfectly, but you could use a cookie sheet and just place it on a cookie sheet or any type of a pan. Or if you have confidence in your foil pan, it's called foil pan confidence, you're good to go. You can just put the whole thing into the oven. Okay, oven is ready. I'm going to put it in. And that is it. For 4 hours, I can go do other things. All right, so it's been 4 hours. I am going to take this out of the oven and let's see what we have. Oh, it smells great. Let's see what we've got here. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna try to take this foil off here. See what we've got. Whoa, look at that. We have a brisket. So what I'm gonna do is I want to broil that a bit just to have a darker top, but I think I need to drain some of that fat first. So I have a cup ready to go. When I drain fat, I put it in something like this, or you can use a can, anything that's not going to break or crack. And you don't want to dump it down the sink. Okay, I'm just gonna pour some of that off. All right. Okay, I'm back over here now. All right, I've drained off some of the fat and I'm going to put my oven on broil. Okay, so I'm going to put this on the top rack and let it broil for a couple minutes. Brown the top a bit. I'm going to set the timer so that I don't forget that it's there. And we'll see what we get. Okay, I think this is going to be enough. Let me see. You could leave it in for a couple more minutes, get it a bit browner, but I kind of like it that way. So for me, it's done. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it with smoke alarm. Going to cover it with foil and let it rest while I prepare the rest of the family, the other things we're having for dinner. Because I'm doing carnivore, I'm only eating this. And but the others want stuff, so probably make some mashed potatoes for them. You could make mashed cauliflower if you're doing keto. Some Brussels sprouts would go great with this. But I'm going to cover it, let it rest. Okay, here we are. Take a look at that. That looks pretty good. I probably could have left it in the broiler for a little bit longer, but I like it. I'm not that picky when it comes to brisket, as long as it's tender. That's the main thing. So what you want to do is slice it this way And so I'm going to do that now. And look at that. Okay. So what you're looking for is for this to just be able to break. Look at that. It just breaks apart. Don't even need a knife. You can just pick it up with your fork on the blunt end. I mean, this is so tender. It's just melting in my mouth. Okay, so thanks for watching my very first video. If you made it this far, then you probably saw a few things that went wrong. Trust me, there was all kinds of things you didn't see that also went wrong. So if you enjoyed the video, please hit subscribe. There are going to be more videos coming. If you hit the little bell, click on the little bell down below, that will give you notifications for when there's a new video. I'm going to try to do a weekly video. Check out the links below that we talked about in the video, and I'll see you next time.